not like this. This sounds like a professor's question. Not like this.
And I think in this case, we'll begin with Mr. Ford and then work out. In your view, what is the main purpose of city government?
City government is the government closest to the people. It provides the most essential basic services, public safety, police, fire, ambulance. It provides for our roads, our bridges. It provides services such as trash collection, recycling. The purpose for, we have municipal courts. You probably could get by without state government and federal government, but I can tell you, there's no city in the world that can get by without some sort of municipal government.
Basic services. That's what we based the budget on the last 3 years as we made cut. There's always been those sacred cows during years that had to be cut. There were no sacred cows unless they were tied to basic services. So trying to keep those as whole as much as possible has been our mantra. We've been able to do that and being fiscally responsible with that money. So it's as simple as that, basic services.
I agree entirely with the comments that made. I guess I would only expand just a tad further that those cities that understand the importance of working with the private sector are those cities where the communities are going to have a better quality of life. And the simple reason is that whenever you have a city government that, and it's never the case that government or employees typically are willfully trying to be hostile to business, but sometimes just the bureaucracy can become sort of enlarged and calcified to the point where it becomes almost impossible for businesses to be able to start a new business, start a new building. Where cities don't pay attention to how important that really is, those cities have great difficulty over time. Certainly the point that Cindy made is that fundamentally about basic services is true. But there's also, I think most of us would agree that having a city with a decent park system, some cities, the library system is part of local government. If you don't have some other amenities that we can pay for collectively in some form, then it's a somewhat diminished quality of life as well.
For me, it's basic services, fire, police. I don't even necessarily believe that we have to pick up the trash. I think that every other city pays for their own trash service. It brings in more business to the city anyways, because you can have 4 or 5 different trash companies come and you can pick and choose which one you want. So basic services, fire, police, and everything else is kind of just added fluff.
We all pay taxes, and I want to clear something up. I think it's a scare tactic that, we're going to raise your trash out. They used to give us trash bags. Yeah. It used to be a service. You were glad to pay something if you were getting something for it. But now, we're going to raise your property taxes. The city can't raise your property taxes. That's a county issue. And this stuff about the trash is going to go out of sight, let me tell you people something. You'll scream like a mashed cat if that happens. So don't believe that nonsense. So, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just trying to lay the facts out there. And also, I'm the people's voice. You can trust an angel, and I'll be there for you. And if they do that, you come see me.
And our last question will begin with you, Mr. Angel. Each candidate has a 1-minute chance to make a closing pitch for the voters to vote for you. Mr. Angel, and then we'll work.
Thank you all very much for being here. It's an honor to run. This is the first time I ever ran. And my opponent, she brags about, she beat me by 75%. Well, I want to tell my opponent, and I want to tell you people, I never put out 1 yard sign. Never put out anything. People knew about me. I ran a business for 35 years. I ran it honest, integrity, did the very best job for both the buyer and the seller. I sat right in the middle of the fence. And city government, they need a businessman down there. I mean, they're out of control, they're way out here, and the actual stuff is right here. So we need to get, I wish I had more than a minute, but I got a lot. But anyway, tires are not the main issue. Jobs are the main issue. And keep jobs in Kansas City, and don't turn jobs away because we don't want a poodle politician. And if you don't know what a poodle politician is, come see me. We don't need a lapdog.
Tracy Ward, 6th District at Large. I'm an outside-the-box thinker. I love to come up with new ideas for solutions. And I love to try and find ways to create solutions for problems without spending any more of your money than we don't have to. So that is one thing that I'm very good at. I've been good at it my entire life. I make do on very next to nothing, and I'm happy, and so are my kids. One thing that I need to mention when I said police and fire, I meant like streets, infrastructure, that sort of thing too. Gotta keep some of that stuff going. So I'd love to have your vote. Your conservative choice for the 6th District.
And I'm John Crawford, 4th District at Large. I want to point out I'm the only 4th District at Large candidate here tonight. There's another 4th District at Large candidate who I don't know where he is. I mentioned a couple of times now how important the private sector is in our city government. Our city, like a lot of cities, have gotten somewhat complacent about how we deal with businesses over time. I've been endorsed by the Business Rights Coalition because I've shown that I have an understanding of what the problems are in City Hall. I can tell you, for example, that both my kids have been food handlers. Probably some of you have had kids or friends and relatives who worked as waiters and waitresses in restaurants. Both of mine have had to go to 2 different locations to get food handler's license and also to be able to have the license the city requires to handle liquor. Now the irony is that they have to go to 2 different locations, they have to pay 2 different fees, just for the privilege of doing something where if you in the state of Kansas, you wouldn't have to have those licenses at all. Now the irony is that I don't recall, show of hands here, how many people remember the last reported incident of plague and pestilence in Kansas? Yeah, this is easy for me to make a little flip point like this, but it is sort of instructive. Sometimes we create a system of bureaucracy that we allow to get out of control. This is just one such instance.
Thank you all for being here, and I appreciate the opportunity to be in the Northland talking to you. Many of you I've met before and have worked with before through your neighborhood associations. I want to continue serving you at City Hall. I've been there for the last 4 years during the toughest economic time that I've seen in my lifetime. I have brought my small business experience to City Hall, and finding those one-on-one relationships where we can find solutions, where we can take care of constituents. We do over 100 constituent calls in my office every single week, working through the problems that individual citizens have. That's not counting the projects that we are out doing in the neighborhoods, doing neighborhood cleanups, and doing projects like Target Green, where we are going to take our overflow control system and do a $50 million investment that's mandated by the EPA, but what does that mean to us? And we've got the neighborhood engaged and have them helping us design. So it's boots on the ground, it's conversations, and it's doing the hard work. I've been doing that, and I will continue doing that.
I think it was Ronald Reagan's line about are you better off now than you were 4 years ago when he ran against Jimmy Carter. And I'll pose the question this way, is the Northland better off now than they were 20 years ago? For 20 years I fought for the Northland at City Hall. I served on the Public Improvement Advisory Committee, the Citizens Budget Review Commission, 8 years as 1st District at Large Councilman, term limited, and now serving another 4-year term. All you have to do is look around. We've added 60,000 people in Kansas City North since I first took office. We have road improvements, park improvements, public safety improvements. I can't claim credit for all of them, but I can tell you I was part of just about every one of them.
Thank you. And are you a candidate for council? Yes, sir. We've been given every candidate, we're at the end here, 1 minute to give your name and tell the voters why they should hire you. We'll give you that chance.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes. Before I start, I'd like to say all praises to God. And I do apologize for being late. I was coming from another forum. My name is Brandon Ellington. I'm running for the 3rd District City Council at large. 3rd District is on 46th Street down to Independence Avenue, Truce over 40 Highway. The 3rd District is the most impoverished district that we have. The 3rd District is a district that has the highest crime rate, murder rate, least economic attainment. And what I plan to bring to the table is community self-determination. And I plan to work with my fellow colleagues on the city council as well as community activists, people in the state and the county to make sure we're getting the type of resources that we need in the city. When y'all talk about issues like infrastructure, I understand infrastructure issues because the 3rd District has the worst infrastructure in the city. So when y'all talk about improving the roads or taking care of the Antioch Mall, I understand this intimately because the area that I grew up in is lacking resources, it's lacking leadership. That's what I plan to bring to the table. And again, 1 minute is not a good enough time to tell y'all why y'all should hire me, but if y'all go to the website, www.elect.Ellington, or if y'all ask me questions afterward, I'll be more than enthusiastic to answer any questions that y'all have. But as long as half of Kansas City is pragmatic, everybody suffers. Until we have a holistic city, we will not be able to do the infrastructure and take care of the blight that we have in the city. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you help